I'd like to call the Village of Weston Board of Trustees meeting to order. I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Roll call.
Maloney,
Here.
Emily,
Here.
Cronin,
Here.
Feeny should be on Zoom.
Here.
Hartinger,
Here.
Wyland. Here. Zagami is absent and excused.
Public comments. Anything for public comments? Anybody online, Michael? No. Public comments, anything for public comments? Number 2. And last one, any more on public comments? Anybody online? No? All right, presentation. We have quite an honor here tonight. The League of Wisconsin Municipalities, Municipal Champions Award for Senator Petrusky.
Kurt Wojcinski from the league is here to introduce this topic tonight and has a few words to say, I think.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, village board members and President Maloney. My name is Kurt Wojcinski. I'm Deputy Director of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. Joining me also is Tony Herkert. She's our Government Affairs Director. So we're the 2 lobbyists for the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. We're the advocacy team and are in the state capitol advocating for cities and villages. And as a part of that, we recognize at the end of every legislative session, legislators who have been particularly helpful to cities and villages. And tonight we're here to recognize one of those state legislators, Senator Petrowski, who I'm going to call up here shortly, but at first I want to say some nice things about him. And just let you know that we deeply appreciate the opportunity to do this here at this village board meeting and that you are members of our association. And one of the benefits of being a member of our association is that you have an advocacy team arguing on behalf of your interests in the state capitol. So at the end of every legislative session, we sit down as a staff and our board of directors and look at legislators who are particularly helpful. And this year, at the end of this session, we came up with a list of 8. So 4 state assembly members and 4 state senators. You may have seen it in a magazine in our magazine that just came out. And this is the first opportunity we've had this summer to actually bestow one of our municipal champions with an award and with an honor and speak highly of them and give them an honor in front of one of our members. So that's what we're here for. And I want to say a couple things about Jerry before I ask him to come up here. I've known and had the opportunity and the honor of working with Senator Petrowski for over 20 years. Not only do we share the same Polish heritage, but we both, I think, appreciate this about one another, that we're straight talkers. We appreciate honesty, and people are willing to dive in and kind of work through differences of opinion and maybe come to a compromise. And you may think that's very common in the state capitol, but I think the senator will attest this. It's rare that people will just be straight shooters and try and reach an area of compromise. And so I've personally deeply appreciated working with the senator all these years. And these qualities that the senator has have resulted in him receiving many awards. If you were to look at his biographical sketch in the Wisconsin Blue Book, it's very lengthy, listing the awards like this that he's received from other organizations that we work with and deeply respect, like the Wisconsin Counties Association, the Wisconsin Towns Association, and the Wisconsin Transit Association. So today we're recognizing Senator Petrowski as a municipal champion and I want to be specific about some of the things we worked with him on this session. Senator Petrowski was the lead author for Act 198, which is probably the most satisfying piece of legislation I had the opportunity to work on in the last decade. And this act is a compromise piece of legislation that we worked out with the Towns Association on annexation and extraterritorial jurisdiction issues. And I won't go into the details of the bill, but is a genuine compromise where the Towns Association came forward with their concerns about some extraterritorial powers that cities and villages had. And we had concerns about annexation and incorporation. And we brought our ideas to the senator, who we both organizations deeply trust. And he said, yeah, I'd be very happy to introduce that bill and shepherd it through the legislative process. And that's exactly what he did. So that's one reason he's our municipal champion for this session. The other is he's the lead author in the Senate on a bill that we initiated that addresses an issue relating to tax refunds. So it gets really down into the weeds. But suffice it to say that cities and villages are solely responsible for paying the interest, or used to be solely responsible for paying the interest on any tax refunds that a city, village, or town had to make to a property taxpayer. And we wanted to have that cost of interest shared with all the other taxing jurisdictions, like the county and the school district. That's what this bill does. It accomplishes that goal and makes some other updates to how you calculate that interest. So for both those reasons, and just the history of working on behalf of local governments together, his role, especially on transportation funding over the years as chair of transportation committees in both the Assembly and in the Senate, we want to call Senator Petrowski up and just give him this honor. And we've brought a little token of our appreciation. Tony, if you don't mind, in the center, if you guys don't mind coming up here, and we'll hand that to you and great.
Outstanding.
So if you wouldn't mind joining me in expressing our appreciation for Senator Petrowski and Jerry, just thank you for the years we've been able to work together.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank
Tony.
you so much.
And Tony, I don't know if you wanted to say anything. I mean, you had a different perspective
Yeah.
in the Capitol.
You know, I was just going to say, I worked with Senator Petrowski for probably the past 10 years, but I worked in Senator Cole's office. So I was, kind of neighboring legislative offices with Senator Petrowski, and just, the trust that I think you have with stakeholders and the way you carry yourself and work with people to come to compromise is just very admirable. And we're going to miss him from the league's perspective. I know the legislature is going to miss him overall just as a good policymaker. So thank you so much.
Tony, do you want to just explain what we're?
Oh, yeah.
handing him? Yeah.
So we have glasses here that we made that have the senator's district on them. It says home, and it kind of showcases the district, and it says municipal champion. And then we have coasters, League of Wisconsin Municipality coasters that announce the municipal champion to a beach.
Outstanding. Very good
Thank you.
stuff.
Well, good evening. I want to say thank you to the league. I get to work with Kurt a lot. I not only chair transportation now, but I chair local government, and I really like both of those areas. I work on a lot of bills. I do a lot of policy. I actually hold the record for the most bills signed into law in a 2-year period. That's 56. Governor only signs 250, but 56 one session were mine. And you can imagine I like to work. I've been in the legislature for 24 years, will be in December. I told this to Barb, it's hard to step away because it's something I really like doing. It isn't that you always have good days, but I work with great people. And the two that from the league, they're part of it. I remember the first time I ran, Vilas Mockmuller was village president. And he called me up and I came down. He says, oh, Jerry, I want to get these signs out here on 29 for Weston that say, Weston, this exit. I said, well, Vilas, I'll see what I can do. So I went and I called up the OT. And the deputy came over. He said, well, Jerry, I'll bring you the book. There's a book on this. And in the book, it was about this thick. It had letters from then Senator Russ Decker, from Representative Tom Springer, drawings, analysis, cost, location, all kinds of information, and multiple letters. And I said, well, Bob, I'd like you to put these signs in. He said, well, Weston can have the signs. It's just they have to pay for them. We're not going to pay for them. He says, I said, well, you know, if you'd have did it when they put in 29, you'd have built it out to 29, it would have been done. Even though 29 is done here, it's not done towards Green Bay, it's not done towards Eau Claire. So just build it out to there. Still 29 project. No, he said he wasn't going to do it. He didn't want to play that game. I said, well, let me tell you how it'll work. I'm going to go see Tommy and he's going to make you do it. And if you want to bet on it, I said, we can do a side bet, but he's going to make you do it. He picked up his thing, he grumbled. He said, you can have your damn signs. But that's how Weston got the signs. And it was, I think, 8 signs, $6,000 a piece. Yeah, it was enough to put a smile on somebody's face like Vilas. And sometimes you wonder how things get done. That's exactly how things get done. I'll tell you one more story. Money for the water tower when you put it in the industrial park. It was at a time when there was no money. You couldn't, we were struggling to make the ends meet as, you know, being the caretaker of the village budget, you understand that real well. I looked and looked for money and there was really none to be had except I found some borrowing authority. And the borrowing authority happened because there was a 0 interest loan given to Hatley to build, I think, their village hall at the time. And it turns out that Congressman Obey went ahead and paid for it. So the bonding went back to the state of Wisconsin. Nobody knew it was there, except I found out, and sure as hell I used that bonding. So, you know, another example of how things get done. Sometimes I know that you probably lose faith in government, but government has to function. All the squabbling, you're always going to have some of that. Right now, it seems like it's more than we need, but we need to find a way to get past it. And I really have enjoyed working with Kurt because him and I can have a conversation about anything. And we sat down and tried to put a plan together for shared revenue because there are a lot of inequities in shared revenue. And Weston is one of those communities. There are cities that get $500 and some a person. There are some towns that get as low as $15 a person. So my goal would try to be to right those wrongs. So we're trying to work on something that we can sell. And I think all of you understand that really well. I need 17 senators, Republican senators, just to get to the floor. So I have to find what it's going to take to get the 17 votes in my house and find a way to get it through the assembly. And I think it's doable. And there was a long time when things weren't. The bill that Kurt talked about before, the extraterritorial zoning and the annexation across county lines, we actually talked about that for years. But it isn't good enough to talk about it. You have to find the votes. And if you can't get the votes, you can't get it done. Now, I just wanted to say thank you for everything. I've enjoyed representing Weston, first in the Assembly and then in the Senate. And the job has been great. I'm one of those people that takes everything home. I can't help it. I think about it in the middle of the night. When I announced I wasn't going to run for re-election, I decided I was going to write a letter to my grandchildren, kind of depicting everything that I learned from my mother and dad and my grandparents, what I learned along the way. Well, I have way too many pages written already, and you'll appreciate this. I write longhand. I'm not real good on the computer. You know, look at these hands, you know. But we're gonna get there. I have time. So with that, again, thanks to all of you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them too.
Well, we at least want to get some pictures before you.
Yeah, thank you very much, yeah.
Tony and
I do have a complaint. Uh-oh, first time I've gotten whiskey glasses and no whiskey.
Yeah. I was looking for ice cube.
it wouldn't be appropriate here, would it?
Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask Mark.
I think that does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We got ice.
Excellent.
So can you,
I'll help you with those.
Thank you.
Can we all talk louder if we turn the air conditioner back on? All right. So, let's see, appointments. Swearing in a fire chief. Yep, are we doing it?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to get the paper.
Okay, that's right. Hold on. The suspense. We're heating the moment here. So you have to do, Ramon also tomorrow night?
Yeah, and then I gotta do the town of Marathon, town of Weston, town of Steen.
Okay.
List.
Oh, yeah. When is,
You'll be
Weston?
well sworn by the time.
Yeah, you'll be well scores, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, yeah. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
There's one guy that does not need a mic. He's just got that voice that just resonates, doesn't he? Holy mackerel. You got that thing closer, I thought you don't even need it. Definitely awkward. I don't think this board has ever been this quiet for this
I
long.
was wondering if I had.
They're all probably waiting, when's Maloney gonna start talking again?
Oh, boy, we're taking pictures right now.
All right.
There's Sarah's here. Yeah,
It was on my desk.
Yep,
I
no, we're good.
apologize.
Okay, yep, thank you.
I think the girl should be in
To
the middle.
you, Josh Finke,
I, Josh Finke,
who have been elected to or appointed to the office of fire chief,
Chief of
who
Fire.
have been
Chief of Fire.
appointed to the office of fire chief.
but now have not been entered upon the duties thereof, swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of your ability. So help you God.
You're asking me to recite all that?
No, you do not. Just yes.
I was gonna say you're asking for a lot there, because I can't remember that much.
Good.
Thanks.
All right, so let's swearing in. Let's see, for appointments on, we need to appoint as a board too? Hello?
I think just to, a motion to appoint.
Why don't we, looking for a motion to appoint Josh Finke as fire chief, say first. So moved by Ermeling, second by Cronin. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Thank you. Chief?
Thanks.
All right, village clerk Pamela Brame, effective July 5th, 2022. Can we do that without her here? Yes. So we just need a motion to appoint her as village clerk.
Make a motion to appoint Pamela Brame as village clerk effective July 5th, 2022.
Motion by Cronin,
Second.
second by Jasper. Hardinger, any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. And third is Dave Deason. We're gonna appoint him to the planning commission alternate number 2. And I'll need a motion for that.
So,
By Ermeling,
I'll second.
by Cronin. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, got all the appointments done. Minutes from previous meetings, we can do them both if you want. 5/16/2022 Board of Trustees meeting and 6/1/2022 Special Emergency Board of Trustees and Park and Recreation Committee meeting. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ermeling, both of them?
Yes,
Okay.
4 and 5.
Second.
Second by Wyland. On the discussion, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right. We're gonna move, number 49 up to this point here. Under, new business, 49, Marcy Steiger water damage claim. And I think you all, Sarah passed out some stuff that I think Marcy wanted, all of you to have. I think most of this was in our packet, right? In the board packet, I believe. I think I saw a lot of this in here. And there's also quite a bit in the board packet. Some letters from the insurance, I think. Was there more?
I think it's all pretty much
Yeah.
duplicated information. Deputy Director of Public Works, Dan Lichkowski's been closest to this, but I know that Ms. Steger is here tonight.
Yep.
I'd hope to, I guess, address the board on this.
Marcy, you want to address the board?
Yes.
Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Marcy Staker,
Yep, you can just
1414.
pull it down if you want. Yep, there you go.
Marcy Staker, 1414 Jelinek Avenue in Weston. First off, thanks for having me here tonight, letting me be here. There was just a couple of things that I wanted to clarify in the report. And I just highlighted some corrections. Okay, so, and put the picture in the new packet that I gave you. It shows the shed is detached, not the garage. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then where it says by March 17th. And the snow was melting with the rain that was received. I just wanted to clarify that there were different dates, so it did not happen at the same time. I verified call channel 7. Actually, on March 5th, we had a downpour of rain. Okay, and then that had come into my garage, and the next day some receded, but it froze. Okay, so that had never happened before. And then on the March 14th, there was 11 inches of snow, but on the big melt day on Wednesday, the 16th, it went from 8 inches down to 4 inches. And I happened to notice with the, go to the handout that I gave you on page 2. The top ones show from the upper part of the asphalt ridge going down towards my yard. And so the ridge was high and the water went into the yard towards my garage. And then the bottom part is just from the bottom view. I didn't know if you had a chance to watch all the videos. Because this was on, the messiest day, and by the afternoon at that, there wasn't much the next day, but it did flood both sides of the garage. So I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't the rain and the snow at the same day, snow melt. And then Uncle Al bought the house in 72, and I've been there almost 23 years. So the garage has never gotten flooded, and it was all the way to the front. So it was, and the only thing different was the asphalt ridge. Okay, so then I do have, the first time I saw the letter from the adjuster, I don't know how to pronounce his name, anyway, was in the packet. I didn't receive any information in the mail. He did speak to me over the telephone with it. Dan was, anytime I spoke with Dan, he was always very polite, very kind. So that helped things along, because it was like 75, 80 days or something like that. Anyway, and then I wanted to, in that last page of the pictures, though, I do have one concern. It shows when Dan had the guys put the sandbags at the top of the asphalt ridge. And we had got a storm after that. He was nice enough to get them there because it was supposed to storm. And it puddled, you can see by the top two pictures. The one concern I have with the asphalt, that what they did for the repair at the top is it's not as high as the sandbags. So if it was a heavy rain. Plus I can't mow there, I gotta weed eat around it, but that's minor. I thought they were just gonna go, maybe come up the road further, up the hill further, because it does level out near the top of the hill. So, and I did, I had worked for mobile cleaning and restoration years ago, so that weekend I did call North Star Cleaning and Restoration to have them bring 3 fans to dry out the garage. I just wanted to address you guys with it just had never happened in that entire time until that ridge was put there. So when it was not approved by the adjuster, I thought there was the confusion about, the rain and the snow melt. So thank you all for hearing me out. And if you can take it into consideration, I would appreciate it.
Any questions so far?
How much is the bill?
Yeah, how much is the bill?
$300.
Okay. Okay, I've got just a question for Dan.
Sure.
So if I'm looking at the last page, it doesn't matter if it's in the packet or these here. So, when if you can just see this one here, like when I see that asphalt. So if you basically just take a line across this yard here, I mean, all of this is going down to Stein.
From that point on, it starts to go down.
But in the lawn, everything. That's all, I mean, I drove by there actually a couple times and everything it's not just the hill here at the road. It's all the way into the lot line, into the back of the lot line.
And what we did by filling in, there was just a little bit of a swale. And that's why I had the guys fill it in. They topsoiled it, seeded it, and then they put the berm in there, the extra asphalt berm. The object was to try and keep the water on the road.
Right. But that's the water you can see. The water is still going down the grass.
Yeah, there's no way to stop it once you get out of the right of way.
Yeah.
Or even out on the back side of it, because the grade drops dramatically to get down to the house and then keeps going eventually.
And I tried to compare it I'm sure we all have stories, but where I live, and if some of you know where I live, the river gets high enough and then backs up into that first basin, then the second basin. Then if it gets actually higher, it actually goes underneath the road and actually floods that whole neighborhood. There's really nothing in there except a few neighbors have put garages in there. And last year was the first year that they ever got flooded. And I mean flooded to like 50 feet around the entire garage. And it's an act of God. I mean, it's you can only control so much. And I know the village or the town, when I was still here with the town, that we just did so much pumping, and I don't think we have as many pumps out as we used to, right? I mean, I don't know how long a lot of you were here, but I mean, Barb for sure knows, especially over in here.
Yeah.
It was, pumps running for weeks at a time, trying to just move the water to a different area. And we did more things with storm, and I know it's unfortunate, because what did we put on there for that layer? What?
About an inch and a quarter.
About an inch and a quarter, which is pretty typical, yeah.
And American asphalted the curb because they couldn't do the swale anymore. There was a slight swale, and that's why I put the pictures from 2021 in there. Those were taken before the asphalt overlay was done. So that did change that part of it, but everything else, that if you look at that picture right there, you'll see from the hill that it's gonna,
Yeah, and that was my question. It's a complete hill all the way back.
It follows that ridge straight across.
You can't see it coming down the road like maybe on the grass, but it is still coming. So.
Up near where the asphalt ridge starts, yeah, right there. It just a little bit more. towards, Tony's house, it levels off there. So, before the ridge was in there, anything that came down was absorbed in the yard.
But see, the thaw wasn't out yet. And that's the issue, is when the surface starts to thaw and the, a foot or so down is still frozen, the ground can't absorb. And so it saturates to a certain point, and as it keeps on melting and getting closer to summer, it keeps getting farther. But that frost line is how deep sometimes?
This last winter was 5 feet of frost
5
in the
feet.
roads,
So
in the roadways.
It can
Snow
fill,
was last
it can
winter.
fill so much, but then once it caps out, it's gonna go, it has to find some other place to go.
Well,
And that's the hard part.
and like, Uncle Al worked for the Marathon County Highway Department for 33 years, so he did a lot, the snow plowing and all of that, so he knew the only place is right in front of, every spring, in front of just the porch door to walk into the house. That would be a puddle. And I did have videos, and some pictures. On the opposite side of the road, it flows down all the way down to Jelnik, no problem. But, since that was put in, it doesn't flow down.
The land might slightly go over where on that side, it actually hugs the road more, so. And I probably hear 10 or 15, 20 a year. And in my opinion, the board has to act yet, but in my opinion, if we said yes to one, we'd be saying yes to an awful lot. We'd have to be consistent, so. Okay, but thank you.
Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Any more questions or of Dan or of Ms. Dyker?
That's something you want to say?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Follow up a little bit on your comment. Yes,
Yeah.
I guess we have the advice through the adjuster of the insurance company. I know it's unfortunate that this occurs, but those are some of the issues that occur in a situation like this. It could set a precedent. We have to be mindful that, if we say we're gonna allow this, if we don't disallow the claim as we're advised, there's other potential ramifications if we're not, there's additional things that come out of it in the end. We don't know about that. So this is more of a procedural matter, but it is, we have a $1,000 deductible in the village's liability insurance, so it wouldn't be covered under that. We would be making a decision to make a compensation, not under the advice of our insurance company also.
What's your pleasure?
I guess I'll make the motion to sustain the decision of the insurance company.
Sustain appropriate?
We should make the motion to disallow the claim as.
Disallow, you're right.
Okay, that's right.
Disallow.
We have a motion,
A second.
a second by Hardinger. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of disallowing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Those are always hard ones.
Those are hard, those are darn hard. All right, jumping back in order here, reports, minutes from boards, committees and commissions, extraterritorial zoning, finance, parks and rec, plan commission, and refuse and recycling is in our packet. We need a report to acknowledge, or motion to acknowledge.
I'll move to acknowledge items number 9, 10, 13, 14, and 16.
By Cronin,
Second.
second by Nate, by Feeny. More on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Reports from departments, 17 administrator. You have it in the packet, but do you want to add anything, Keith?
Did receive the phase 2 environmental report from REI, but it did not do it yet. I apologize. I directed up some other things before the meeting. We're gonna be talking more later under new business about some updates on the PFAS topic relative to myself, Michael, and Josh Swenson all sat in on the he's virtually on the Wausau Waterworks Commission meeting today that was discussing the very same topic. I included up in the OneDrive for all your background information about the East Nick Avenue situation with the village of Croninwetter. I don't know if you have gotten any contact with President Bull from
No, I have not.
Croninwetter. The town of Ringo has indicated they would not support that extension of East Nick if that's part of that's another related matter, but taking care of the existing part of East Nick is our main topic with the village of Croninwetter. Extension to J is another kind of a long-term situation that's been proposed to us by a prospective developer out that way, but also as more of a public safety access issue long-term as well. But Town of Ringo indicates no intention or no desire to contribute financially or allow us to special assess by their agreement. So that, I asked for written confirmation of that, so I'll still be following up with the town of Mead as well on that topic.
So on that topic, if I can, maybe can't, but, so for spring right now, we're not up there grading or anything, right? We're not bringing no equipment up there at all.
It finally hardened up. I was actually down there this morning. There's a culvert on the far east end that we have to take a look at because there was a potential claim on that from where, okay, so that needs some work.
On the north or south side?
Pardon?
On the north or south side?
It's a cross culvert way on the east end. It's the last one before the road ends. We gotta run a grader down there when we get some rain just to try and close up some ruts that are a little bit too deep, I think. Other than that, it's kind of where it sits right now.
But by doing that, those phone calls will not go to Croninwetter for attention. That was the whole point. If it's not a safety concern, we need to have some of those calls and concerns going to the board so they understand the gravity of this. So we're out there fixing it for the 5 building permits, all granted by the village of Croninwetter. We have nobody.
I would.
Well, except for landowners that might want to have.
Yeah, I met with Tracy Groshek I've talked to. Tyler Groshek's the one that's building a house. He's actually living in a camper there right now.
Yep.
I talked with him to make sure that they were aware, they know what the road is, they've owned the property forever. The concern was come spring, the house wasn't done yet, and make sure if you had to get fire equipment back there, I think Josh was back there, what's gonna happen? The road's passable right now. I have their phone numbers. I mean, if that's what it's gonna take, that might be the way to go. Some, contact on their part. And that can.
I'll try harder with the president too.
Yeah, I guess
I think we both should.
kind of follow up on that a little bit. Our main concern, I think, was during the frost out that we were gonna have an impassable and inaccessible properties because of the impassable road. We're getting back into, say, the more routine type maintenance.
It'll be fine now, and then
Level
just a
here.
couple ruts and fix the cross culvert.
Okay.
But that is something that we do want to have cleared up in a long-term intergovernmental agreement, so whoever comes after us knows how it's supposed to work. Okay. Well, I guess the last thing, I did update the board last week on some of the staffing.
Just real quick here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to be a part of that meeting too.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up that I did update the board and all staff last week on some of the staffing changes. We did bring on board Song Lau as our deputy finance director. And last week, had a family emergency on the weekend and was unable to be with us today. We've also, as based on the appointment of our clerk, I should say our next clerk, Pamela Brain, who is also coming to us from the city of Schofield. But she'll be starting on July 5th. And I guess certainly don't want to be lost in all this, to recognize Sherry Weinkauf and all she has done for the village over her 28 some years with the village. I know the separation here has happened a little more quickly maybe than was initially anticipated, but we do want to give her a proper farewell at some point in time. And just want to make sure that we recognize all of the things that she has done for the village over these years. And as I said, she's going to be missed, but you know, as is always said, organizations survive despite people moving on. So,
Okay.
here we are. So, let's see, other questions? That's all I have.
Anybody on the board? No? All right, finance. Jessica, anything else?
I have nothing to add. No
Okay, any
questions?
questions for Jessica? Fire and EMS, new chief on board here.
I have our report in there. I do have two things to add. Number one, we have Country Fest that we provide EMS standby to over in Cadott. That will start Wednesday at noon. We send the ambulance over. I'm also taking, the person that runs it, his name is Wade. He called me in a little bit of a panic late last week. They normally get 5 UTVs they can rent from Tractor Central, 5 John Deere Gators. This year they can get 0 because of shortages. So they asked us if they could rent a UTV from us. So we have 2 because the grass fire season is pretty wound down. I feel comfortable sending one over to them. So they're gonna pay us $500 to rent that between Country Fest and Rock Fest, between their 2 festivals. So we're gonna, our crew will actually be using it over there. So it'll go over there. I'll take it over on Wednesday, and then Deputy Chief Lang is gonna go pick it up on Sunday. I will be out of town starting at some point on Wednesday. I'll be leaving town and I will be back on Sunday morning to noon about. So I will be out of town a couple days, but Eric will be around if anything comes up. Other than that, it's pretty much business as usual.
So as now chief, you can now appoint him deputy, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's your job.
Right.
Okay. So that'll be done just at station?
At station, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Any other questions for Chief Finke? No? Good, thank you. Park and Rec.
I did have a report in the packet. A lot of it was focused on updating everybody on the pool situation. And it was mostly about the leak. It wasn't necessarily about everything else that's going on at the pool and how busy we've been and some of the other stuff we've been dealing with there. But everything's been busy. This past weekend, we had 7 park rentals, so we were busy. We also had a wire fry off and a pool pump startup for the activity pump. So myself and Scott Tatro were over there yesterday. We were able to get that fired up. Last Saturday, a fuse went in the pool controller. So it's been keeping us hopping on the weekends too with things going. Of course, the normal incidences. This morning, someone vomited in the pool right before we opened. During swim lessons last Monday, somebody pooped in the pool right before we opened. So it's kind of the normal circumstances that happen, unfortunately. And
What are the protocol again?
protocols depending on vomit, blood, and solid stool is one, and then liquid stool is different. Anything like the blood vomit informed is just have to reach a concentration time of 45, which is parts per million times a minute. And then obviously, most of the time it takes us longer to clean it up than we actually need concentration time. So loose stool would be immediate closure for the day. It usually takes us about 10 hours to turn around that because we completely have to clean the filter system, superchlorinate, et cetera. So.
Okay.
But very busy. If you went by today, they were parked on the road and the line was all the way to the blacktop.
They're probably lining up right now for tomorrow.
Yeah, there was a line at 3 o'clock in
Awesome.
the parking lot yet, so.
I'm gonna go out there with a couple coolers of water and maybe sell ahead of time.
We had a quick question. Is that roof on the, or the leak on the roof of the play structure, is that something that the contractor is gonna address?
Oh, the leak is actually underground.
Okay, I just saw something in your packet here that said it had something to do with the with the roof structure, but maybe it's the.
Well, the roof structure shut off, so we basically isolated the leaks to the supply lines that go to the south end of the plate structure. So there's 3 different features and 3 posts that have water fed underneath the pool surface. And we know that at least 2 of them have leaks. We're not sure about the 3rd. So we have the roof structure shut off, and then we have 2 of the little fountains shut off on the south end. Everything else on the plate structure works, the slide, water, everything else. But like it states in my report, we noticed that we were leaking about 40 gallons a minute more when we were running the structure and slides compared to when we were just had the pool running in the recirc. So we knew that, or we didn't know, but we estimated based on the water usage, 40 gallons a minute, that our pipe was probably 1.5 to 2 feet diameter. So that right away made us focus on those feeds to the plate structure. So we shut those off and then.
So from 22, an additional 2,400 gallons. Because of the 40 gallons more per minute, right?
40 gallons a minute.
Yep. So that's 2,400 gallons an hour.
An hour, yeah.
Oh, times the whole day? Oh my God.
Yes. So if you see the water usage that we tracked from all the way from the day that we pulled the mats, open up the main drain, and then the water usage, I mean, well, you can see the numbers right there. Our busiest day of the year, we only used, 9,600 gallons that day. And then 16th, of course, we had a ton of rain. We actually only used 7 gallons that day.
But I kind of figured that the leak, the leak that we were first aware of is actually in the plate structure?
It's underneath the plate structure.
Okay.
So most of the plate structure is fed off of a above ground manifold. So the supply comes in, there's a big manifold, all the pipes go off of it to feed the different features of the plate structure, except for 3 of them. 3 of them actually come out of the manifold, go back into the pool surface, and then go out to those legs that are way out there. So they were uncapped all winter, but they had winterizing plugs in them, but they're inflatable winterizing plugs. So, how long do they stay inflated? So.
How often, like the plate structures, how often do we have to like reglaze it or get color on it?
Well, this was the first time it's been done since 2019. But this is a full restoration. Painting's a lot cheaper. The last time we had painted was around $7,500. Of course, this is a full restoration because they restored all the pipes and regalvanized and everything, so.
So are you saying that when we had it painted, they might not have closed them off properly?
They were all closed off. We looked at it. But it's hard to say that, it's been winterized the same way for the past 23 years. Well, this year there was something different. The structure wasn't there. So did that cause something that, caused the pipe to break? The thing is, we don't know what it is yet. Did a flange just come apart because it goes from PVC to stainless steel? Did a gasket blow out? It might not even be a broken pipe. It could be as simple as gaskets, or a broken flange. But the problem is, the pool surface is going to have to be excavated to get to it.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay.
But there are still other options. I actually talked to an engineer yesterday that said it's a possibility of possibly lining it, but we got to get a camera in there and see what it is. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Planning development, Jen?
You have my report. I don't have anything additional. It is for June. It says May on top of there. I didn't change that, sorry. But unless you have questions, I don't have anything additional.
Okay. A lot of boxes around here in all the different departments. All the paper going, right, before the move? I was here in the
We're getting
weekend.
some,
Yeah.
instead of buying boxes, we're bringing donated boxes so we can take.
Yep, no, I got some in from a produce company if you need some.
Okay.
Police department.
Just a couple of things, recap, we had 2009 calls or activities for the month of May. 1,520 of those were in the village. Just want to go over real quickly a couple of things. Very recently, we had a daytime burglary throughout the last half of May and beginning part of June that we were able to take into custody. And we're still looking at some of the contacts he had because a lot of people had Ring doorbell video or video of him in the neighborhood and kind of chalked up to excuses he was making. So we're still following up on some of that, but we were glad to get him in custody. Those are kind of scary in the middle of the day.
Is that the Angelo's one?
Pardon me?
Is he the one that did Angelo's? Oh, okay.
We also had an attempted armed robbery at the store gas station on J, early last week. We also got him in custody after a short pursuit that ended in Red Mountain, but he gave up with really no fight at the end, so that was good. And recently as today, we arrested somebody on a warrant that was related to a pretty awful event that happened in Reno, Nevada. He was been in Weston for about a week, and it was a home invasion. He battered two elderly women. It was quite the incident in this county, so we're glad to get him shipped back to Nevada where he belongs. So it's been busy, but there's been success.
Happened in Reno?
Yeah, yeah. So, and this weekend we also got another arrest out of our skate park that included a loaded gun, a couple bags of weed and some cash on some teenage kids, so. It's been keeping us busy.
Okay, any more for Chief? Thank you. Public Works? Michael?
Yeah, I guess I have my report in there. Quite a few grant applications that were sent into the state at the beginning of the month. Some progress on our projects. It's one thing to highlight there is we did have a public works operator resign this past month. This last week was his last week, so we are advertising to fill that position. So if anybody knows anyone that has a CDL and would like to come work for the Village of Weston, tell them to apply.
Is CDL required?
It's not required, but
You have to train to get it, right?
yeah, the rules changed. Was in February here, so you now have to have formal classroom training instead of just on the job training. So I guess that's one unique twist. So if we do find somebody who doesn't have a CDL, I guess we'll have to discuss how we'll go about helping them obtain it, so.
Yeah, we're doing that. And then with Ross Avenue, it seems like it's going pretty decent,
Wednesday later Wednesday, they're supposed to come in and start the mill.
the big mill, okay?
Yeah, the goal is to have binder down the first course down by the weekend. And then we're gonna raise the manholes up, and they're coming back next week. They're gonna be out, I think, on North Apache, he was talking. They're gonna be grading out their paving there, come back and put the top mat on.
And then as far as the bridge overcoat from last year from Farners?
Yeah, Brent was supposed to be there from Farner 2 weeks ago. And like everybody else, I'm sure they're running busy. And I haven't seen him, and now with the paving, we'll wait till that's over, and.
We're still holding money on that?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, every time I go by it, and I can't help it, I go over it, I should say. They knew they had this job last year. And so a lot of these jobs they're doing now ahead of this job, because they have to do it, doesn't matter when, so, I don't know. It's a little frustrating. Okay. All right, Public Works, I stopped you, Michael, I'm sorry.
That's fine. I guess unless anyone else has any questions, just a lot of projects going on right now.
Okay, yeah. Any questions for Public Works? No? Technology, Nate?
Nothing really to add to our report. Do you have any questions?
Okay. How's everything going with the new municipal center? Any issues? No?
I'm just transitioning from the new pool software to that now.
Yeah.
So start to tackle.
So hopefully, like really good speaker system. The boardroom, okay, cool. And Chief,
He's gonna help get fiber hooked up to TV that's in between there too.
Yeah, I talked to TDS last week.
Just reminding you.
there's some new regulations with Cat 5 pull and wire. Is that all the states, or is Wisconsin included, like Minnesota? You have to be licensed and registered to pull cable?
Understanding it's all states.
Oh, it is now? Okay. All right. All right, that's it. We need to approve. Yes? Yeah.
Motion to acknowledge.
Acknowledge by Ermeling.
Second.
Second by Hardinger. Any more on the discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. Work product transmittals, May building permits and May budget stat, let's just do 26. May building permits. What's your pleasure?
Move to acknowledge.
Move to acknowledge by Feeny,
Second.
second by Cronin. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. 27, May budget status report.
Motion to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge by Ermeling,
Second.
second by Hardinger. On the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Consent agenda. You wanna do them all? License.
I only have a question, I
Sure.
guess, on item number 36, at the planning committee, I had concern because she's asking for one dog. Can she add to that without getting permission? That was my, having to reapply to add, right now, I can't remember, if she had like 3 of her own dogs or something, and then they wanted to get one rescue dog. And.
Jen, you remember that? I was here for that.
Jennifer, do you recall? I mean, because I questioned it at the time, but I didn't wanna.
Yeah, they're only allowing 4.
Right.
She can only have that extra, 'cause she has 3 of her own.
Okay, so but she can't just say, take another rescue dog under this thing. Okay, that's
Well,
my only concern.
and she's coming to the board for the license and permission. I'm sure there's quite a few homes in the area that are rescuing dogs and animals. I would think, but she's above board and doing it the correct way.
But that's the thing you're watching. I mean, you can, if all of a sudden you see the neighbor has 5, 6 dogs,
Yep.
if they don't have the license and they can't have.
Sarah, is the one in here for the new, I can't remember the name, for the new, the Bender building that's possibly gonna be going to somewhere
Yeah.
else?
That
Which one is that
is
for?
number 32.
32, okay, so it's in here, okay, good, okay. All right, what's your pleasure?
I'll move to approve items number 29 through 41.
Motion by Cronin,
Second.
second by Wyland. On the question, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 So carried. Whew. Ordinances, 43, ordinance number 22-013. An ordinance amending section 94.4.02, parent 3 of the zoning code relating to multifamily residencies. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ermeling,
Second.
second by Cronin. On the question, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. 44, resolutions. Resolution number 2022-011. To approve the Compliance Maintenance Annual Report, CMAR. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ermeling,
Second.
second by Wyland. On the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. Number 45, resolution number 2022-012, Birch Street Special Assessments. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Wyland,
Second.
second by Hardinger. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. 46, resolution number 2022-13A, resolution to approve the preliminary plat of Hinter Springs, first edition subdivision. What's your pleasure?
I move to recommend their preliminary plat for the Hinter Springs subdivision, first edition with the conditions listed.
Motion by Cronin,
Second.
second by Ermeling. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. Unfinished business, number 47, update on American Rescue Plan ARPA funds.
I had a couple things in the packet. The first one, Finance Committee requested showing the impact on the taxes if we were to reduce our borrowing for the 2022 CIP by 1 million and then by 1.5. That graph shows the impact on the $200,000 house.
So that's not considered, paying off debt?
No, we would not borrow, we would just pay for those assets up front.
Because incredibly, you can't use the money to pay off debt.
Right. The discussion, and then the page after that was a list of projects prepared by the administrator. Finance Committee's request was to have a joint meeting with the village board so there could be a joint discussion on the best uses of the ARPA funds.
Okay.
So
We
if I
just-
comment.
Yep.
There's money tied to priority projects that we don't fully know what they're gonna be yet, the pool being one of them. There are low but high priority items on there, mainly being the strategic plan for the village. That we felt in the finance committee. That was something that we suggested we take action on. As we don't know the full amount of the other items on that list, and what they're gonna cost the village yet. We would all like to take that money and push it toward, a capital improvement plan rather than use that out of our own budget. But without knowing what our expenditures are gonna be with the rising costs currently, we just like to sit on it until we know more. But a strategic plan, that, those proposals really haven't changed. And that is something that we feel is a priority to move on.
Yep, and I agree with that. I just think whatever we spend this money on, it should touch everybody. A strategic plan would definitely do that.
Yeah, and that was actually part of the meeting too, is that there are plans in there for parks. Part of that too is the updated security for the parks. So there are things that were, a part of that we do want. We would like that money, some of that money, to come back in the community for everyone to enjoy, whether it's the parks or, making improvements or fixing the water park. Those are all things that the community can enjoy. As much as we'd like to take that money and shove it right into a capital improvement program, we just don't know what the expenses are gonna be right now with these other projects that are sitting out there.
I agree. All right, is that something that's gonna come up later?
Chair Whalen?
Because we can't.
You wanna add to that?
Oh, well, we were also concerned about, we made a motion to recommend, using, ARPA funds for this, strategic, successor for the village administrator, so we wanted to touch on that as well in the meeting.
Okay. So at this point, under 47, is it information? I mean, are we gonna vote on?
What is it phrased? Oh,
Yeah.
it's just
Okay.
update, isn't it?
Yeah, just an
Yes.
update, that's
Yeah,
what
we
I'm saying.
can't vote on anything.
Okay, yes.
My takeaway from the finance meeting was that the recommendation was that we move to utilize, I believe there was a number mentioned, was it 40,000? I had estimated 35,000.
It was 40.
For the strategic plan. Then beyond that, we would then have a joint meeting of the plan of the village board and the finance committee in July to kind of go through priorities on this list. Again, with maybe not numbers being final, but at least prioritizing what things we would want to focus on with the money, right?
Yeah, and that's what I took out of that too, but I guess my question would be, does the board now have to reinforce the finance committee's recommendation for the administrator to take part of that ARPA funding for the strategic plan, or do you have what you need to move forward on that?
Well, we have a suggestion, from there, but under 57, we could actually move it forward.
Correct.
Right? 57 is consideration.
57 is where we would.
What?
57.
57 is where you make that decision. Right now, you're saying that Finance Committee's recommended that we can allocate funding for the strategic plan, I guess. Next step on that strategic plan will be under item 57.
Okay.
President Maloney pointed out.
Did you go into the two different,
No, we saved that for this meeting, so the clerk can see that.
good, excellent.
And a recommended time of 5:15.
Okay, sure. Sounds good. All right, so moving on to 48, Stillwater Landing Manufactured Home Park License. So I think I remember this now. How is Stillwater, and then you're supposed to say it's still.
Stillwater.
This is a little joke they have between the owner and some of the staff with this park. That it went right over my head. Everyone else laughed and I had to really dive in and think about this. It's definitely a dad joke. But before we get into this, I mean, we'll put it up there, but I just need to say something. It's all the different times I've been at different meetings or like a fact-finding meeting with a resident or a business. It's probably one of the best meetings I've ever been to. Staff was excellent. I mean, staff was phenomenal. Who was the officer there for EMPD? Eric? Unbelievable. I've talked to him a few times, at the banquet, but never like this. I mean, that he is so approachable and so easy to talk to. I mean, he is absolutely perfect in his role, what you have him doing, perfect. But, it probably the first couple seconds, I didn't know which way this was going. And, but I'll tell you, it was this owner and the staff there knew exactly the direction they were going. And I know, talked to several of you outside of that meeting on how impressed I was with what they're doing. So anyway, I'm just gonna throw that out there, and they, I don't think they missed anything. I mean, any question we threw at them, Jen, do you remember? I mean, Roman and Scott aren't here, but I mean, there was a lot of different discussion back and forth. I was probably talking the most, but I thought it went really well. I didn't expect that. I expected, I don't knows, and I'll get back to you. And we didn't know that was happening. Everything we talked about, and officer from the EMPD, they knew every issue. It was pretty cool. So I'm just gonna say that. So what's your pleasure with me grandstanding like that? What's your pleasure on Stillwater Landing Manufactured Home Park License?
Do they have a timeline for getting those abandoned homes?
Yep. Don't know. Okay, but they have a timeline.
Yeah, they're kind of at the mercy of the state.
Yep.
Now, because it's all title work.
And also American Asphalt. When they said American Asphalt, I almost fell off my chair.
Yeah, that's for they do have a plan to start correcting the roads inside there.
One of the biggest questions I asked was, what is your collection? So they have the same amount of tenants as they did before. So they took it over at 100, I think 156 or 174 is the total amount. Today they have about 100, it's just right around 100. When they took it over 2 years ago, they were collecting at 65%. And my question was, how engaged are these tenants? And they are collecting at a 95% right now. That tells you a lot. So it may not be the same tenant, but these are tenants that they've brought in that are engaged and are paying.
Yeah, because it's always a little discerning, you've got someone new coming in and they're gonna fix this all up and whatever, and then a few years down the road, we're still at, but I'm hoping that
He also divulged that he's got about 500 apartments in the Wausau area, and he has 60 other parks, some in other states. I think staff saw my mouth drop. I didn't say something for about 10 seconds. It's very unusual, but it was pretty impressive. 60 parks. See, Keith gets my jokes. You can all just stare at me. That's right. I get them. It's a small attempt at humor. But anyway, 60 parks, man. Holy crap. They've got one in Anago apparently that's just 5-star. So anyway.
Well,
I asked to, if I'm over in Anago, I'm gonna drive through it, but I just wanted to see some of the parks that they are operating. So.
I'll make a motion to approve the manufactured home park license for Stillwater Landing with a 3-month checkup and a report to the board.
Okay. Motion by Ermeling.
Second.
Second by Hardinger. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Did you have something to say, Dan?
No, it's clear, Mike.
Okay, all right, it's just one. Just caught me off guard. I rolled around pretty quick and I was kind of watching for his eyes. All right, 49 we handled. 50, discussion and possible recommendation on simplified water rate increase.
This was brought to both Public Works and the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee recommended, and so did the Public Works Committee.
What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve the simplified water rate increase.
Second.
Motion by Ermeling, second by Hardinger. On the discussion, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. Just so you know, I've got a trophy at the end of the night, and right now Barb is in the lead. So she'll definitely get that trophy, I'm just telling you. So 51. Discussion and possible recommendation on check signers for the interim period before the new clerk starts. What does that entail?
I handled it with Intercity today. I basically had them take off Sherry's name and then left the village president and the village treasurer on there.
Okay. So there you go.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Cronin,
Second.
second by Hardinger. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. Hardinger does have number 2 spot, just so you know. 52, wells 7 and 8, construction services contract.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Wyland,
Second.
second by Hardinger. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. 53, award hydrant painting project bid to Ferguson Water. What color are we talking?
Yellow.
Thank you, Lord. Okay. I see a lot of communities, right? I can't see them. They're, Green Bay is pale green or whatever, and I saw one in Colorado this last couple days, silver. And I'm very happy with our color. All right, so a little less commentary.
I'm sorry, I got a question.
You're awarding it? You're motioning?
Got a question.
Okay, let's get the motion on the floor first.
Motion to approve.
So you're gonna do that motion, I thought?
He's got a
Motion to
question.
approve.
Okay, motion by Hardinger, second by?
I'll second.
By Cronin. Now on the question.
This is typically done every 2 years, Michael.
Yeah, we try to get it done on a more frequent basis. Last year, we didn't get any painted, but we got the arterial streets in 2020. Yes, 2022. So we try to get the main streets that have, a lot of salt damage, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we started noticing a lot of our other side streets are starting to get that way too. So yeah, we try to rotate it through about in a 5-year cycle to get all of them through.
That's what I was asking.
It's a sandblast and then a paint.
Sandblast and repaint.
It's intense.
Yeah.
You see them in that space outfit, you do not want to drive near them, so.
Right, so of the 880, every couple of years you do about 200, so you've got a 5-year cycle, give or take.
Yeah.
And you're doing it with or without the zinc then?
The zinc is with on streets that we do salt heavily, or
So that helps protect the hydrant.
yeah, it gives it a little more of a.
So you guys
Salt
identify
resistance.
which ones get the zinc?
Correct, yep.
Okay, all right. So that, the total price,
So I guess the total price really would be less than the 37,000.
so you have some without zinc on it.
Correct, yeah,
So it's not gonna exceed 37.
correct.
It's gonna be somewhere between the 29 and 37.
Yeah,
Okay.
so 37 would be the highest, I guess it'd probably be closer to about a 33.
Thank you, Michael.
Any more on discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 So carried. 54, intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Rothschild for the reconstruction of Weston Avenue, Alderson Street to Birch Street.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Wyland,
I'll second.
second by Cronin.
You have a question?
Can I make a quick comment? I did get feedback this afternoon from the Village of Rothschild. They wanted to add one more item in there, which is a number 8, just specifically calling out that the grant would be shared equally between the two communities. So, I don't know.
It's an equal amount of road, it's an equal amount of ownership on each side.
They just want that specifically in there, that the grant would be shared equally. So, I guess if you don't have an issue with that,
Is it our grant or theirs or both?
it's a joint grant, so we both applied for
Yeah.
the Weston Avenue grant.
I think that's fair. Who made that request?
It was Tim Vergara with the Village of Rothschild.
Acting?
Did the Rothschild Village Board act on it already?
No, but Tim's taking it to the village board next week, Monday.
How does that work?
Tim is acting administrator,
Yeah, he's the Public Works Director.
good guy, good.
How does that work with the roundabout? Because that isn't,
The roundabout is 75% Rothschild, 25% Weston.
okay, so, but I mean with the grant.
The main stretch of roadway, I'm guessing will eat up that whole,
Okay.
will eat up the grant anyways.
I'm wondering on that, okay.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna ask it, a roundabout, Alderson to Bird Street. Are you talking about the roundabout that goes to the highway?
No, it'd be a mini roundabout at the four-way stop currently at Alderson and Weston Avenue.
Oh, cool. That's cool, yeah.
I hate roundabouts.
I didn't read it. Oh, I like roundabouts a lot.
Yeah, that's mainly due to queuing times that will in out, so.
I think it makes really good sense there, very good sense.
Do we need an amended motion for that?
Or I can bring it back once it's approved by Rothschild, just to have us,
That's probably the best.
Okay.
I was actually looking for the plans on this.
I guess we don't have plans yet. This is the agreement to then allow design to start.
So, and 75% is on them on the roundabout?
Correct. The southeast corners in Weston, the other 3 corners are in Rothschild.
Okay. All right, so where are we? Do we have a first and second?
Well, if we're just approving the design start, then I
Yeah, so the agreement is with Rothschild to say we're both agreeing to hire a consultant to start the project, I guess. So one of us doesn't go rogue and start doing it.
You made the motion?
Sure, motion to.
No, you did,
Yeah, I
right?
did.
That was Island and Cronin.
Yep, that's what I thought. And then we're on the discussion, so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 55, Community Center Drive and Stone Ridge Drive repaving project bid results and award. Drum roll, please.
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Ermeling, second by Hardinger. Any more on the discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 56, update on EPA health advisory for PFAS. Discussion and possible action on possible PFAS treatment.
Yeah, so I included the memo that was put together and I think from a couple meetings ago with some updates. I don't know if people had a chance to go through that, but I think the most confusing thing that occurred last week was that the US EPA issued an updated health advisory recommendation on PFOA and PFOS. And those are below 0 parts per trillion. They're in a level that's it would be parts per quadrillion. And currently unmeasurable with current technology in analytical chemistry. So it's an advisory level that still goes then to the EPA's, what do you call it, Science Advisory Board?
Correct.
For additional consideration before they make a recommendation as to a maximum contaminant level for drinking water. And that level then would be recommended this fall is the anticipation, but would probably take 2 years before it becomes effective. So this whole thing is way out of sequence and it's causing a lot of public confusion, not to mention confusion among all the utility providers and so forth. As mentioned that in the memo, we did have a telephone meeting with Wisconsin DNR representatives. Kyle Bird happens to be the point person, if you will, with Wisconsin DNR on this whole topic. And what has occurred really has no impact on what recommendations have been made so far by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, their 20 parts per trillion health advisory level, or the 70 parts per trillion recommendation for PFAS and PFOS for a safe drinking water standard in Wisconsin that's expected to be adopted within the next month and then be effective in the fall of this year. And assuming that happens, then 70 parts per trillion becomes the enforcement standard in Wisconsin, at which time, if anybody exceeds that, the DNR can require some treatment to take place. So I guess the bottom line is the EPA's announcement really has no impact on anything we do from a regulatory perspective, requirement at this stage. But it certainly raises public awareness of the issue and probably concern as to what we're doing or why we're doing or what we're not doing, that all that stuff. So kind of a long lead in here. And today, Wausau Waterworks Commission held a meeting and talked about this very topic. Wausau's a little farther along. They've gotten more complete cost estimates on what it's going to take to remove PFAS from all their water as their new treatment plant comes online and what they may want to do long term. My understanding is that the filtration system that they were going to put in place with the plant, they've actually analyzed that they want to put in granular activated carbon removal long term. And in their final action today, they pretty much affirmed that they're still on track. They set a goal of being under 20 parts per trillion for all of Wausau's water, without knowledge of anything else that, what's going to happen long term in the PFAS regulation. And I did attend the Wisconsin American Water Works Association committee meeting, or Regulatory Affairs Committee meeting, 2 weeks ago, where it was mentioned that they expected the PFAS regulation, the recommendation to be much less than the 20 parts per million ultimately, and that it would be potentially in the single digits. And now the EPA's recommendation, of course, is that it's below single digits, and how this all affects everything. Again, it's very confusing, and it puts us in a very conflicted situation, if you will, I guess, to say the least. We had been looking at some options earlier this summer. One was possibly blending one of our wells that had the higher PFAS levels with the remainder of the system to get additional water before it enters the system under the 20 parts per trillion. Based on the last sample, we don't think that's really going to be practical anymore. So the option that we still have on the table is looking at temporary implementation of PFAS removal with a portable system. And I guess I can turn it over to Michael. He can explain where we are on that as part of this discussion.
So we haven't combined wells 3 and 4 at this point. Those are the 2 wells that were going to be combined, but they're not anymore.
Well,
Is that correct?
3 and 4 both pump to the treatment plant that's back here on Sternberg Avenue there, where Municipal Street meets. So well 3 was turned off because it had elevated levels. And then we were told to run well 4 for a couple of weeks with well 3 off, just to see if, by having well 3 off, if well 4's numbers would spike up, and they did. So they're just over 30 parts per trillion. So I guess that's where we're at right now is we've got one well there that, the temporary treatment that we received bids for on April, I think it actually was April 26th, are still good. So we can still implement the short-term treatment following, proper bidding law and all that, good stuff. We did, request, 2.65 million from, Senator Baldwin's office as part of a federal, fiscal year 23 appropriations funding. We were told we made it past step 1. So I don't know how many steps there are in this process, but, step 1, our, funding request was forwarded on, so, and that's specifically for, PFAS treatment. So that'd be more probably for the long-term implementation of granular activated carbon at the treatment plant. So I guess the main question is, do we try to, if we keep well 4 running, more than likely we're gonna have to send out a public notice saying we have a well that's over the 20 parts per trillion, whether that causes a lot of public outcry. If people are gonna ask, what are you gonna do for me? Are you gonna provide me a pitcher? Are you gonna buy us bottled water? Or maybe we won't get anything from them.
Well, what concerns me is we're raising the rates and if you don't have quality drinking water.
Yeah, and that's part of it is, we wanna be able to provide quality drinking water, so, the short-term treatment at least gets it so the water we'd be delivering to people would be under that 20 parts per trillion. And we'd be working towards a long-term treatment that's similar to what the city of Wausau more or less approved, I guess, today.
And what do you mean by delivering water?
I mean, by implementing, the short-term treatment option, we would be able to have water exiting, entering the distribution system below the Department of Health Services 20 parts per trillion.
But not manual, not like they were doing for a while.
Yeah, not bottled water, filters, anything like that. It would be treatment at the well, so that the water entering the system.
You mentioned something, and I read that too, and I thought, well, now what? Where the federal came in with that 0 parts per whatever, what does that actually mean?
Well, as I'm saying, at this stage, it means nothing from a enforcement standpoint.
Okay, because
It's just
we're
raised
looking at 20 parts per million and they're saying 0.
Yeah, I mean, it's just raised the whole topic in everybody's mind that, because they made this recommendation, but we still have to operate in a time when we really have no clear guidance on how this is gonna work long term. So, we could be criticized either way. Spending money under with the premise that we don't have anything to comply with, right? We don't even know what the right compliance level is at this point. Or the other, I guess the main theme, we're hearing from the regulatory side is, there's not total agreement across the board. Department of Health Services for Wisconsin says one thing. We expected that they would probably lower that recommendation. US EPA now has it incomprehensibly low, that lower than anybody might have expected to hear. I guess the bottom line is they're saying to reduce exposures. So whether that's through drinking water, whether that's through food wrappers or whatever it is, we're the topic of the water. I guess we're responsible for the water. If we have some ability to take action to help to reduce that, I think that's where I'm at this point myself. We're gonna end up having to treat this to some level in the future. 20 parts per trillion seemed like unattainable before. I don't know that I take it it's not unattainable, but we'll learn how our system would be able to accommodate, say a 20 parts per trillion level with this temporary treatment. We are gonna have to do something for long term. If we don't, I think then, either way, we're gonna have to issue a health advisory notice. Then the topic is whether we're gonna provide a substitute drinking water source, whether it's bottled water or pitchers. And we have a couple examples in this area of communities that have reacted different ways on it. The city of Wausau has chosen to supply water and pitchers. The village of Rothschild, I think, did not. And if we're not violating and in violation of the safe drinking water maximum contaminant level, I don't know that we can criticize that we're not complying with regulations. We still are doing that. That's our charge. And we're not extending well beyond where we should with our responsibility to the public. So
Could we for the next meeting just have like so Rothschild put a notice out, Wausau is providing pitchers and water. Can we find out what that cost is? What are they doing? Do they have a mass thing? Your pitchers of water are leaving? Are they filling gallons? How's that work? And I'd like to know what it costs. And why I'm saying that is because I'd like to know what it's costing for a municipal agent to do all that, to do all the renting, get all the water, filter the whole thing versus, $1.99 for a case of 30 16-ounce bottles. And buy the semi-load from somewhere. I just want to know what the difference is.
Wausau did purchase bottled water for their residents.
Okay.
That was one part of it.
Yep.
They did both.
Okay.
But you're spending $5 in gas to pick up $2 worth of water,
Oh, so-
so there was that factor that I read as well.
Oh, that's true, too.
So, I mean, the blog was like.
So my recommendation, I think, as we talked about this with staff, would be that we move forward with the temporary treatment and do not furnish
I agree.
the alternate water source. We'll make efforts to make our water below the 20 parts per trillion.
Yes.
That was gonna be my question, part of my question was the temporary treatment. The cost, and will that hopefully get it down below where we don't have to, declare it unsafe.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, is the cost gonna be, you don't know what that would be for treatment, temporary?
So know what the treatment equipment will cost.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some piping that is gonna be needed there long-term regardless. The unknown would be disposal of the media that becomes spent after it's been used.
I was gonna say,
That
what
needs-
do you do with the leftovers?
Right, well,
Or removal?
this is another one of the impacts of this whole situation.
Because from what I understand, it doesn't break down for anything. If I read that correctly.
Right, for a long time. Okay, so I'm taking this more as an update with no action. We're just gonna keep moving forward.
Well, I guess we would need authorization to move forward with the temporary treatment.
And we will have to be meeting with the DNR. We'll be following up after our meeting tonight with the DNR as to what we're gonna do now that we know that well 4 exceeds the 20 parts per trillion. So we have to issue a health advisory notice or at least give some.
Where's well 4 again?
Yeah, thank you.
So well 4 is the one covered by the Mountain Bay Trail, like where Municipal Street and Sternberg meet is well 4, and then well 3 is over by the safety building in Mesker.
So
Well, actually,
I'm on Janelle, so that's well 4.
I mean, you get a blend of water from all of our wells, depending on when they're pumping. So it could, I guess, regionally, that's the closest well to you,
That's all. So the taste of my water, which concerns me.
water is sampled at the entry points for this particular compound or these. So unless we were taking distribution system samples at different points, we don't. The water does blend from all the wells, so it would be under the 20 parts per trillion, I would think.
You're seeing a lot of the filters that you buy now for refrigerators or for those little Bria things there. They got PFAS in there. They got all the buzzwords. You could possibly want to have that.
I want to buy one because I'm on my own system.
And it's
got magnesium and rust.
Yeah.
So,
So I think what our strategy would be is that we would move forward with a temporary treatment, take well 4 offline until we have a timetable. I guess we would, if we have to put well 4 online for any reason, we have to issue a health advisory notice.
Sternberg and where is well 4?
So well 4 is right here at Sternberg Municipal. Well 3 is
Okay,
next to this.
got it. Okay,
So we need a motion to
continue.
continue. Proceed with treatment.
Yeah, so the temporary treatment bid result was 109,752.
For a period of time.
That was a 24-month.
Okay, oh. Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion unless you want
Motion
to
by-
jump on it,
Barb.
Well, I want to.
What's the trophy?
Motion by Hardinger, second by Ermeling. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the way I heard it. Any more on the discussion? And if we're gonna have more discussion, if you prefer to be in English, please. I missed quite a bit of that. I have a very low attention span and some of those words just knocked me right out.
Mark, can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
I just noticed that it says up to 600 gallons per minute up there, so I would assume the village probably uses more than 600 gallons per minute during the day anyway. So how would that, if any, is there any effect if we get, let's say Wassa Supply starts on fire and we're flowing 3,000 gallons a minute for the fire department? Does
No,
that-
that's why we have the towers and stuff, the storage.
But is there anything that we need to call you guys and say, hey, we're flowing a ton of water right now?
Well, we should turn on.
If we have the-
for your fires.
Yeah, if we.
Yeah, that's a stupid saying because you can't actually do that, but
Yeah.
wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, I guess if we do end up turning the well off here, I guess if you do have a long event, it would be good to know. You get to our utility number is a 24-hour number, so that way at least our operators are given a heads up. I know it's not always possible.
I think that's a question that would be good to bounce off the DNR staff. We already have that discussion with them. If, for instance, if we had a situation where we had to supplement, we had to add to the supply.
Yeah.
Would that kick in the, the community-wide health advisory notice or just like a press release or what, the health advisory notice requires us to send a letter to every customer.
Okay. So we have a second, motion and a second. Any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So carried. Sarah, you got all that?
I did.
Okay. All right. 57, consideration of proposals for village strategic planning from Baker Tilly and Craig Rapp Consulting. Did we talk about this in finance too?
Yeah, this is the item that trustee Harden here had asked to be put on the agenda. The two proposals were put in a OneDrive. I hope everybody was able to access those. Okay.
I guess my question, because you've been in contact with these guys, or both these firms, what would be your recommendation based off the conversations that you had? First off, if you've gotten an opportunity at all to call any of the references, other city administrators that both these firms have worked with?
I have not gone to that level, I guess. I have spoken to a client of Baker Tilly's who spoke very highly of them. I know we have worked with Baker Tilly on some other items. Nick Dragus, the principal, the person that I think had his name prominent on the Baker Tilly proposal has been, and I've been in contact with him on several occasions. I've also spoken with a Craig Rapp consultant representative who would be potentially handling the effort here, facilitation and so forth. So I guess many times when proposals like this are obtained, we might have more of a lengthy evaluation or selection process that might include an interview or, with a team or a group of people. We've done it with engineering proposals at times with, say a committee or number of people from a board or committee that are put on it, but we don't, there's nothing that says we have to do that. So if you want to direct staff to conduct that, that's fine too. It's kind of in our court, I suppose, is how we want to proceed.
Yeah, I was just looking for your feedback from your conversations that you had, and if you had any recommendation. Baker Tilly is a really great firm. They're a larger firm, but they also come with a larger price tag. But they have a lot of really good resources. So there's really, I guess, the two ways that we could move on this is based off of your recommendation, which firm and which proposal, or we invite them up here to give us a presentation from each firm. And then the board can make that decision.
How did, so Baker Tilly, everyone's heard of. Craig Rapp, was these proposals put out or?
Looking around for communities that had, examples of a strategic plan on their websites, and River Falls was one that I got referred to somehow. I think actually Jessica had been looking around, so Craig Rapp was the firm that had done theirs. It turns out they've done a lot of these in the upper Midwest. Twin Cities area, Minnesota.
In my opinion, when I read it,
in Illinois,
Baker Tilly is pretty typical, pretty normal, pretty fluff. I can't help it. It just came very packaged. And the Craig Rapp Consulting was raw and kind of down to earth. To me, I interpreted that as common sense. I'm not that impressed with, Texas, New York, Chicago, and all the canned photos and stuff, and I just felt the Craig Rapp. Now, whether that's all price tag, I have no idea.
Well, Rapp works mostly with smaller municipalities.
That's what I saw.
Baker Tilly is a big firm, they work with bigger ones, and Rapp they provided I thought a really good reference list. A lot of people that they've worked with. I didn't get a chance to dive in to see the size of those communities versus ours. But the other question I wanted to ask is where their people were coming from. Is Baker Tilly coming from Madison? And then is Rapp coming from, I don't know where they're from, Appleton, Green Bay?
I thought
the person that they would have assigned to this would be from, I think it's Northern Illinois, but
that's Baker Tilly?
She was involved with the Wisconsin City County Managers Association and has a lot of familiarity with Wisconsin. So they had kind of a menu of things too, with focus groups and in-person and virtual and, internal survey and a community survey. I think those things are kind of embedded in Baker Tilly's proposal. So in terms of dollars, they're kind of in the same ballpark, but it's a matter of what we really think we need. So I guess I'm fine with either one. It's just, and I kind of had some of the same takeaway that Craig Rapp proposal, and I think some of their products looked like it was a little more condensed.
I didn't associate
more
the
to
price.
the point.
The price I really didn't have it in there. It's just when I read through both, I just, I'll just say it, I felt less intimidated with the Craig Rapp.
But I feel with a smaller firm, you probably get a little more personal attention. But they had their proposal broke out to their travel costs being separate, which is why I asked the distance question. We'd have to take that into account, even though their proposal's less. Are they coming from farther away?
I thought Baker Tilly was more Zoom and more Teams and more of that.
It's a great firm. Baker Tilly, I feel like we might get more for our money going with a smaller firm. That's my opinion.
So do we want?
Got a great amount of resources.
Do we want to do a little more legwork with this, or do we want to actually do one of them right now? I'm prepared to go right now.
And that was my question to Keith is, do you feel good with what you have?
Yes, but I think we have to refine the scope of it regardless of which one we choose. So as far as getting a contract, how many, we'd want to sit down and decide how many focus groups we want to have, how many, whether.
Oh, yeah, no, we're at the ground floor.
That will affect then the ultimate contract that we have, especially with the proposal from Craig Rapp.
And they haven't got back to you yet when you put.
Oh, I did. I spoke with them today.
Okay, great.
What's your pleasure?
My recommendation, I guess.
Figure out which one would be.
Proposal from Craig Rapp.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
He just said it.
Craig Rapp?
If we're waiting, I was, waiting for to be delivered.
I said you're asking for my recommendation, I'd say we go with the proposal from Craig Rapp and we finalize a contract with him.
Okay, so motion to approve the proposal from Craig Rapp.
By Hardinger, second by.
I'll second.
Cronin. Any more in the discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried.
And I'd just like to request, as much if I can be an assistant or a part of that, just please keep me in the loop. I'll try to make as many meetings as I can.
Well, it's gonna involve the board, staff, community, so yeah, it's gonna be a interactive process.
And thank you for getting us to this point, Keith.
Thank you for getting it up on the agenda.
And now all the thank yous are done. Okay, move on to 58. Okay, are we done? The kumbaya, everybody's high fiving? Okay. So, kidding, of course. I enjoy it. Contract with Cooney, how do you say that? CUNY Architects.
As far as I know.
That's the third one. So we actually have 3 architects here. So contract with CUNY Architects for public safety building improvements. So I'm gonna go first. I was at the meeting, I put my 2 cents in, I didn't wanna get into the weeds. So we're gonna spend the same amount of money that we approved, but we took out the court, but now we're gonna spend the court's money, right? We didn't take the court, we weren't gonna do anything with the court. So I guess I assumed we were gonna take that off the top, and then that was gonna be our new starting point. But if we didn't, I left. So if there's more projects, that's fine. And then number 2, letters on the doors, what does that mean? Just A, B, C, D, E? Something about $1,200 or $1,300 for letters on the doors. Is that just identifying the door inside, like a man door, or a person door, I should say?
Are you looking at the? You're probably looking at that summary, looking at that summary budget.
On the overhead doors.
Okay, all right.
It showed the lettering on this, okay.
And then the November substantial completion is the exterior paint. So that'll actually happen in 22. And then the rest of the completion for the interior is gonna actually finish in about spring, maybe front part of summer of 23, correct? I left the meeting, that's the only thing I'm gonna say.
It's a 2-phase.
Yep, 2-phase, good.
Process.
So it's 2-phase, good.
But we took the lettering off the doors.
You would what?
I thought we took the lettering off.
See, that's why I misunderstood that then. I think the doors, maybe it's, identify, it's not actually on the fire doors. That's what I thought it was. And for only $1,200, there's no way you could get those letters to be on there for that.
Yeah, because I thought you took them off.
So we're not gonna have any identification on those doors, right? Okay, so that must mean something else. And it's on the exterior side.
What's the bottom?
There it is right there.
Bottom number.
No, well, right there.
The bottom.
Lettering on, no, stop, lettering on door. I'm good, I left the meeting. I'm fine with what the committee did.
Those numbers that were not bolded are not included in the total.
Pretty quick with that,
Lettering on
yellow.
doors is not part of that.
Pretty quick with that. You like that, don't you? Okay.
What?
Well, he jumped on yellow quick. He likes to highlight right away.
No,
When we're talking
when I
about
put this together,
he took it off already.
I put this together, the bolded numbers were not included in the total down below.
Right now.
Not.
What did Jessica say?
We were setting the order. 1,158,000 was.
And 70,000 is going to CUNY, correct?
Pardon?
From the whole thing, he's getting 70 grand, right? And so is there any more, what do we have, like 300 grand in, what's that word again? 300 word in contingency. We have 250,000 on a $15 million project, but we had 300,000 on a 1,000,001.
I was just gonna bring that up as well.
222.
So are we still at 222?
His note was that he would include an additional 30% due to that. So that contingency and AE fee there, that line item is 30% of the estimated construction items budget added onto his fee.
Has anyone asked how that could be so different from 15 million to 1.1? I mean, that is a monster red flag. 15 million is 250,000 contingency, correct?
Right, we went in with a very low contingency on the municipal.
So why don't we go in out really low on this one?
Because of the volatility of the prices right now. That was his note, and that's what I added up on the summary initial.
Well, I would think Myron is going through hell with what they're doing.
I don't know how, yeah, a lot of people are.
They gotta be going through hell.
They locked in some things right away, even before they were awarded the bid.
Well, a locked in price in my world is called act of God, and you're out. So nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah, and the flip side of that, you start canceling contracts left and right because of it, you're done in this town anyway.
Yeah, that's
So
true too.
you're,
Maybe they're gonna suck one up.
So the request here or the proposal here is to award a contract or enter a contract with CUNY for completing the design of the public safety building improvements that we have discussed.
Yep, I'm fine.
And once we bid,
we can go.
once we bid, we will know what the numbers are. We want to cut something out from a bid or even if we cut it out before the bid. That will be still our option.
But we can get the exterior done this year.
Yes,
That's key for me.
right.
I'm done. What's your pleasure? Motion to approve by Hardinger,
Second.
second by Wyland. Sure, you're missing it.
That's okay.
You don't get to say sure. I get to say sure. I just want to make sure that that's set. So, any more on the discussion?
It was Wyland as a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got a neat place.
And without a shirt, and no, hearing none on the discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. Ratify the memorandum of understanding to amend the terms of the village's development agreement with Tommy Ducks.
Motion to approve by the attorneys.
Yep. Second. Motion by Ermeling, second by Cronin on the discussion. Kind of weird that we're, saying yes to this right now and all the signatures are done. I signed, Tommy's signed, everybody signed, everybody and their brother signed, the bank signed, and now we're approving it. So
Yes,
a little horse and cart thing happening
it's a
here.
formality after the discussion at the last meeting.
Formality is gonna get the president in jail, so. All right, so, did we say yes? We did, okay, so I just gotta keep talking. 60, discussion and possible approval of the Everest Metro Public Safety Agreement Amendment 1. What's your pleasure?
motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Hardinger, second by Wyland. On the discussion.
Well, this is just mostly housekeeping.
Correct.
I didn't see anything really
Yep.
changing. Okay.
Yep, well, a lot of red and blue.
Yeah.
We're used to that with planning and things, so it went actually pretty smooth. So, you taught that, chief? Taught you how to do the blue and the. I can do that. Okay. So, with no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Attorney referrals. We do this, just so you know, for the three, that comes up every meeting, because, it used to be kind of that people could just call the attorney. And so we decided as a board that we're gonna do this together, or, the administrator. So that's how, so if anybody on staff wants to see the attorney, they talk to Keith, but, all of us are in unison when we talk to the attorney, so that we don't increase the bill. Okay, so if you wanted to talk about the attorney or to the attorney about something, this would be the time to bring it up and then we could talk about it and discuss it and vote on it. Okay? Move to closed session per 19.85, parent 1, parent C. Move to closed session to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, i.e. administrator evaluation. Administrator evaluation. How do we keep Nate on? How can we do that? Call him on a cell phone?
You just call him on his cell phone, or I can kick, I guess, everybody else out of Zoom and leave it on.
Well, because that thing that I listened to,
You're not supposed.
they said you're not supposed to leave it on at all, period. So
Yeah, I guess
it has to be a trusted.
I'll have him call one of you then.
Do we have to motion?
Nate, did you hear that? No, we did not motion yet.
I did.
Very much.
Yeah.
I saw it sitting
You're gonna
one of the desks.
try to go in there.
Motion, go to closed session.
Michael, yep, you see this?
Right here.
I'm signing stuff right now.
All right,
Community center.
So, no call tomorrow.
okay.
It's an extra
I'm gonna be
4
in Minnesota.
You should have that one from ACOM right there.
All right.
Yeah, that's just my stuff. Yours around somewhere.
At home?
Sarah should have.
Oh, she has more?
Oh, stop crying.
This is just community.
Not the rock in your face.
You're gonna get your nose.
Okay.
Oh, you pretty little skin.
Remember, it's highlighted in yellow.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys move to go to closed
Motion
session?
to close session.
Because we're still signing everything, right? Chief ran over here.
That's why, Barb.
Yeah, we're just gonna wait till Mark finishes his business.
See, it's,
It's tough.
I mean, I'll be back Wednesday, but.
Hey Keith, would you mind
I mean, Nate's online.
just CCing me,
I don't like opening like here.
with, that,
You know what
that firm
Right,
on your next
yeah,
meeting?
there's some, yeah. I
Sure.
kind of-
Is that asking much?
Committee I'm on.
Just throw me in there. I'd love to just see how it develops.
Sure.
If I haven't been a part of.
Yeah, is it, they're gonna be wanting to do some.
Thank you, sir.
I'm just making them double staff and a board retreat, all
Send
that
me
stuff.
those,
I definitely want to.
so I send them to like my people that are like on Ross and they
Their
just.
initial sit down,
Love it.
that's, they come in.
There'll be a lot of.
We heard they talk about doing that, but right now.
You know, I know he's an engineer.
Probably have a meeting with staff.
Oh,
No, yeah, Marathon
yeah,
Electric.
I kind of,
Point of order.
And,
I really.
yep, just a second there, Nate. I just gotta try it.
Okay, I got it.
I lived there my whole life. I know what you're talking about. I was on the utility committee.
Everything I used, but
Yeah, I'm still there.
that I missed down
I
there.
don't know where they live either. It's
Plus it's possible.
The only problem with these, Nick, is if we're not spending a lot of money on it, but if we don't read the rules.
I was reading an article
I don't think there's something. Why aren't they?
about the federal
Why aren't they
government having lowered that.
That's the point I'm trying to get.
Whatever.
I'm not arguing with you.
I get, I don't, not at all. I get the safety with Josh. But if he's superseding percent safety goal, then we got, they've got it going.
They just don't want to answer you.
Yeah.
Do you have an issue if I go to a board meeting and I bring something?
Okay, let me know when you're going.
I was going to say something.
We're in the public, he's telling us what he killed. I went right to.
And no, they got enough stuff on their plate. They don't-
Oh, Strauss, I did brickwork for him. But anyhow, the other- one last thing, on the bridge, what are your expectations?
Smooth,
I guess if you look at
like
that.
it was.
It's pretty rough.
Now, it ain't smooth now.
I drive it every day and
It's scary.
it's,
I mean, what, are they kidding?
I was not impressed.
I wouldn't even finish Farner. I've had Farner do so much work at the grocery stores. They have never.
I'm not making excuses. The only thing you gotta realize is it's epoxy. There's a skew and a slant on the bridge.
You can
That's
go
what
on-
happened the last time.
You can go on the 29 exit, 51 going to Green Bay. That laid beautiful. Warehouser was laid beautiful, that little stone.
Have a protein bar.
I know it's.
The only reason I'm saying it is because of the patch.
At least it's not a-
Get some.
Yeah, it's
Another time.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I was
Thanks.
smart this time.
I'll throw it on your desk, Sarah.
Thank you. I did the everyone, and so about 30, I actually ate something.
Jasper, is this you?
And it.
Closed session, is this?
I motioned for it.
Yeah, I know, but this is your deal.
There has not been a vote,
I
Mr.
didn't-
President.
Yeah, there is not.
We have to motion. Yeah, I made the motion. Nobody seconded. We haven't
Just a
closed session yet.
Who put closed session on here?
I think it was me. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
No request to have it
Yeah,
on.
good.
I don't know what the, if you need me in here.
Do we want him in or out?
Talking
I
solves or what?
don't know if that's kosher or not, but I mean, we're basically making a decision on him. So I think if we wanted to keep him in here for any questions regarding his evaluation, I don't think, unless Trustee Wyland has any questions regarding his evaluation. I think we're gonna make a recommendation. That's my plan, but.
Normally, yeah, I know, well, I mean, we're not close. I know normally you've gone through that whole format or whatever, so I don't know where you are.
We've done it each way. We've had him not in and then we've had him in.
I'll defer to you, Mr. President.
No, I'm gonna refer to you.
That almost worked for a second. Keith, would you like to stay or go?
I guess it depends on what point you're at on this. I think what you've done, my understanding is what you've done before. You've all gone through a review and kind of looked at different points and then made a kind of a, you've come up with a composite
As a whole.
review.
You want to start up without him in?
Then you sit down with me later, but
Or vice versa.
whatever you want me to do, I have not necessarily.
Are we offline yet?
No,
I'm still in, but not enclosed.
yeah, you're not close.
And then we've got to get Nate enclosed
Yep.
on somebody's cell phone. So whoever's cell phone, I can do mine, you can do yours.
Well, I'm gonna be out. I can't be.
Okay, okay.
You'll be.
Sarah, you in?
I thought I was gonna leave.
Okay.
Barb was gonna do the times
okay.
and
Is that okay?
motions.
Okay,
I didn't.
Got a close brand
all
spot.
right. So let's go into closed session. Let's do we gotta do the roll call.
Well, you gotta have a motion first.
I did.
Yep. Second by Cronin. Roll call vote.
And second was Cronin?
Cronin?
Okay. Okay, roll call vote. Maloney,
Aye.
Ermeling,
Aye.
Cronin.
Aye.
Feeny,
Is he off to do?
Aye.
Oh, there he is. Okay, thank you, Nate.
Hardinger,
Here.
Wyland. Here. And Zagami is absent and excused.
Okay.